Beneath the ancient oaks of St. Michael's Cemetery in Charleston, South Carolina, rest 9 graves that the city's most distinguished families would never mention. The headstones bear the names of wealthy plantation owners who all died in a similar, mysterious fashion between 1851 and 1855. Each succumbed to a sudden paralysis, followed by what the era's physicians termed a merciful death. However, during a 1923 renovation of the cemetery, groundskeepers uncovered a horrifying truth that city officials instantly ordered sealed away from public knowledge. The wooden lids inside each of those 9 coffins were scarred with deep, desperate scratches from fingernails, and the bodies were positioned in ways that suggested a final, frantic struggle. The next discovery by the authorities would haunt Charleston's elite for generations to come: a leather journal, buried under the cemetery's oldest magnolia tree. Written in the meticulous hand of a man named Solomon Fairfax, the journal chronicled 4 years of calculated vengeance. It was a story that started with a family's screams and concluded with 9 men being buried alive. Before we delve further into the tale of Solomon Fairfax and the dark secret that twisted a gentle healer into Charleston's most methodical killer, join our community of truth seekers. Subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss these unearthed stories from America's past. Let us know in the comments which state you're listening from. We love connecting with our audience across the nation. The journal's initial entry, dated March 15, 1851, started with a single, illuminating line: "Today, I watched my wife and children burn, and I did nothing to stop it." During the 1850s, Charleston was the crown jewel of Southern aristocracy. White columned mansions overlooked the Cooper River, and dynasties built on rice and cotton fortunes believed themselves to be untouchable. The city's small medical community commanded immense respect from the wealthy elite, who could afford private physicians for their peculiar, frequent ailments, mysterious fevers, sudden weakness, and strange paralytic conditions that afflicted Charleston's most prominent families with alarming regularity. Dr. Cornelius Hathaway had opened his practice on Meeting Street in 1845, swiftly earning a reputation among the upper class for his innovative treatments and unusual grasp of exotic remedies. His success was due in no small part to his exceptional assistant, an enslaved man named Solomon Fairfax, who held an almost supernatural knowledge of medicinal plants and chemical compounds. Solomon was not a typical field hand. He stood tall, with intelligent eyes that appeared to document every detail around him. He had been educated alongside the children of a previous master, learning to read and write before such instruction was strictly forbidden. His comprehension of Latin medical terms even impressed Dr. Hathaway, who grew to depend heavily on Solomon's skill in preparing complex compounds and assisting with delicate procedures. For 32 years before his time with Dr. Hathaway, Solomon had lived on the Pemberton plantation. There, he married a woman named Celia and raised 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. The Pembertons permitted this because Solomon's healing abilities were invaluable during outbreaks of fever and disease. He had saved countless lives, slave and free, earning a rare degree of respect. This relative stability shattered in March of 1851. Edmund Pemberton's gambling debts forced him to sell parts of his human property. The sale included Solomon's wife and children, who were to be sent to different plantations. Solomon begged Pemberton, offering to work for no pay, but the master, pressured by creditors, refused. The morning of the sale was grey and humid. Solomon spent his last night with his family, memorizing their faces. As the traders arrived, he watched helplessly as his loved ones were loaded into a wagon. The true horror began on the journey to Charleston. When the wagon hit a rut, Celia fell, striking her head. The traders, deeming her a loss, callously ordered the wagon to continue, leaving her bleeding and unconscious on the roadside. Solomon, restrained, could only scream. At the slave market, his nightmare deepened. His children were sold to separate buyers, disappearing forever into the brutal system. Through it all, Solomon maintained an outward calm, but inside, something fundamental broke. The healer who had dedicated his life to preserving it now watched his own world destroyed by casual cruelty. Dr. Hathaway, unaware of the full tragedy, purchased Solomon for his medical skills. As he was led away, Solomon cast a final look back at the market. In that moment, a cold, calculating patience settled in his heart. He would wait, learn, and make the responsible men pay a price that matched their crimes. That evening, in his small room above the doctor's practice, Solomon began writing in his hidden journal by candlelight. His first entry set the course for the next 4 years. Today I watched my wife and children burn, and I did nothing to stop it. But I'm still alive, and I remember every face, every name, every voice that laughed as my world ended. They think they have broken me, but they have only taught me patience. In the following months, Solomon performed his duties with quiet competence. But beneath the surface, he was conducting a different kind of study, learning the intimate details of Charleston's wealthy families and their involvement in the slave trade. Dr. Hathaway, a widower with arthritis, came to rely on him more and more, even allowing him to handle certain patients independently. Solomon meticulously researched the backgrounds of every wealthy patient. He identified 9 men with direct connections to his family's destruction. Some had been at the auction, others had financed it. His education then turned to advanced chemistry. In Dr. Hathaway's library, he discovered texts on pharmaceutical compounds, including a toxin derived from a South American vine that induced total paralysis while leaving the victim fully conscious. He located the plant in the greenhouse of Professor Nathaniel Crenshaw and, through experimentation, perfected the dosage. The correct amount would make a victim appear dead, yet fully aware, for hours, long enough to be buried alive. He documented his intended victims in his journal like medical case notes, outlining a treatment plan not to heal, but to deliver a very specific form of justice. His first target was Colonel Reginald Fitzpatrick, a rice planter who had joked at the auction about Solomon's children. Fitzpatrick's monthly visits for gout provided the perfect opportunity. On December 15, 1852, Solomon added the paralytic compound to the colonel's medication. As Fitzpatrick began to weaken, Solomon sat beside him and calmly revealed his identity and his crime. He explained that the colonel would be buried alive, fully conscious, to experience the terror Solomon's children had felt. Dr. Hathaway soon entered and pronounced the colonel dead from heart failure. Solomon attended the funeral, watching as the coffin was lowered into the ground, wondering if Fitzpatrick was still aware inside. That night, he wrote in his journal, "Colonel Fitzpatrick has paid for his crimes. 8 more remain. Justice is patient, but it is also certain." The success of his first act gave him confidence, but the psychological toll was heavy. He selected his second target, Judge Marcus Calverton, who had provided legal justification for breaking up slave families. Under pressure from the arrival of a new junior partner, Dr. Henderson, who would increase scrutiny, Solomon accelerated his plan. While treating the judge for migraines, Solomon accidentally used a slightly higher dose. Dr. Hathaway noticed the unusual muscle rigidity but ultimately attributed it to a severe stroke. At the judge's funeral, Solomon noticed a journalist, Thomas Grimby, taking notes, and realized his pattern was attracting attention. His third victim was Captain William Dandridge, a ship owner who transported slaves. Solomon learned of a dinner party at the captain's mansion and arranged to help serve. There, he added the toxin to Dandridge's dessert. The captain retired to his study and succumbed. His death, discovered in front of numerous guests, was immediately deemed suspicious. Dr. Pettigrew, a guest, even mentioned the word poisoned. Thomas Grimby arrived to investigate and noted Solomon's presence, connecting him to multiple deaths. Knowing his time was running out, Solomon devised a desperate plan to eliminate his 6 remaining targets simultaneously. He learned they would meet at the offices of Henderson and Associates. Using his knowledge of the building's gas lighting system, He injected a concentrated form of his toxin into the main gas line. On the night of the meeting, the trap was sprung. Solomon entered later to find the 6 men paralyzed around a table, fully conscious and terrified. He approached each one, explaining their fate. But his triumph was short-lived. Thomas Grimby entered the room, having followed his investigation to this very spot. The journalist stood between his duty to expose a murderer and his understanding of the injustice that created him. As voices approached outside, Grimby offered Solomon a chance to escape. Solomon refused, stating, "Let them come. Let them discover what I've done." Grimby chose to document the scene. When constables burst in, Solomon calmly confessed everything. His trial became a sensation, forcing Charleston to confront the brutal realities of slavery. He showed no remorse, telling the court, "I was trained to preserve life. But when this society destroyed my family, I learned that the same knowledge used to heal can also be used to ensure justice." Solomon Fairfax was found guilty and hanged on October 15, 1853. His final words were, "I die knowing that 9 men experienced the terror my children felt. This system will continue. Remember that even the most patient man has limits." Thomas Grimby, who had copied Solomon's journal, later buried the original beneath the magnolia tree in St. Michael's Cemetery. Its discovery in 1923, alongside the scratch-marked coffins, confirmed the legend. The city sealed the records, but the story endured. Solomon's revenge sent ripples through the antebellum South, leading to new laws restricting slaves' education and influencing the development of forensic medicine. Most importantly, it challenged the nation's conscience, proving that even the most seemingly docile of the oppressed could harbor a fury capable of shaking an empire's foundations. What are your thoughts on this story? Was Solomon's revenge a justified response to unimaginable cruelty, or did it simply become another form of evil? Share your perspective in the comments below. If these journeys into America's hidden past captivate you, subscribe now, hit the notification bell, and share this video with someone who appreciates the complex truths buried beneath our history. Until next time, remember, the past is never truly gone. It simply waits for the courageous to uncover it.